Hey, what's up, people? I thought I wanted to touch on a particular subject that a lot of us don't like to talk about, as far as like being open about certain personal issues that we deal with emotionally, mentally, and even physically. So, in honor of trying to remain as an individual who's willing to be transparent in hopes of connecting with other people and giving opportunity to continue to just be free and live a vulnerable lifestyle, and not carrying a facade of shields and walls and all these different things that typically don't help because we still feel that thing inside and we think that we're protecting ourselves from by not letting people see it. Instead of learning that everybody doesn't really deserve to have all of you that you are. Therefore, it comes down to us being selective, but also at the same time willing to be the beautiful canvas that we are, of all the many different colors of contradictions and positives and negatives that makes us who we are, and all the different understandings and the ability to grow. So I'm going to talk about when I struggled with a form of depression back in 2019. Now, I wasn't clinically diagnosed or anything like that. I just knew how I felt inside. So I'm just going to say this as a disclaimer. It's just a idea, suggestion that may help you. I'm just telling you what helped me. I do understand that some people may have actual medical conditions compared to certain perceptions of life and certain circumstances that contribute to them not feeling as good and positive. This is probably going to work more for those who in that kind of scenario, because that's what it was with me. So just I'm not saying this as medical advice or anything like that. Just want to put that out there as a disclaimer, just in case. The kind of world we live in, people make an issue out of anything. So, all right. So back in 2019, or maybe it was early 2018. But I want to say it was more so 2019, because 2018 and 2019 were rough years for me personally, because in 2018, well, towards the mid 2017, I went through a lot. I went through a very, 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 very rough breakup with someone I was seeing for a number of years, and that did not end positively at all. So the events leading up to 2018 is when those events led up to 2018. It put me in position to start reevaluating a lot about my life, some of the choices that I made as a man when it comes to relationships. I was the kind of man at that time where I brought into some of the ideas too, and this is me just kind of putting myself on display a little bit, even from my first video, just that idea that if I shield myself, I can prevent certain things from happening to me. And because that comes from a negative and broken place, you'll actually create the very situations that you are trying to defy. That's the irony of it. So in 2018, I really was taking a look at myself. Well, towards the end of 2017, leading into 2018, that's when I made some decisions to really start making some changes inside myself. I wanted to change how I operated as a man when it comes to people, period. When it comes to dealing with women, in any form of relationship with women, whether it be romantic or platonic friendship, I wanted to change how I view myself, how I deal with myself and the relationship that I have to myself. Because whether we know this or not, we're in relationships with ourselves too. And I think that's the one relationship that a lot of people are not cultivating. And this is where I think a lot of issues stem from as well too. So talking about me, that was my year of really purging and growing through the ups and downs, the bitterness, the wrath, the anger, the pain, the sadness, the brokenness, all the sleepless nights filled with tears, things of that nature. The things that I deal with being in those dark places by myself. Because the closest person to me was my daughter. And of course, I didn't talk to her about a whole bunch of that kind of stuff. She didn't even know all of that, only because she's a kid. And her understanding wouldn't be there to really grasp those things. Plus, don't want to put the weight of that on the child anyway. So a lot of that stuff I dealt with on my own. I didn't really connect with a lot of people because I knew it was some things that people wouldn't understand. And if anything, that was more for my time of more so spiritual cleansing as well too. I started just trying to reconnect with my faith and how things need to go. And I pulled a lot from that. And I've learned a lot as a result of, my spiritual connection to get to those places of really reevaluating and redefining myself and the kind of man that I want to be. And also realizing the mistakes that I made that also caused some of the situation I was dealing with. And having to be straight with myself, and look in the mirror and really face that, own up to those things. And so it was a time of accountability. Now let's go into 2019. 2018 was pretty much the foundation building into 2019. So a lot of groundwork was laid for when 2019 I really was able to act on a lot of things that I've learned in 2018 that helped me be able to be a better man and implementing a lot of different things, a lot of soul searching and cleansing and purging and things of that nature. But I had one particular period where it still seemed very hard to be positive when it comes to, I guess I longed for that connection with somebody who can really understand me inside and out. And we all want that. And because I felt that I didn't have that, I felt depressed, made me feel more alone. Because it made me think like, dang man, if there's 7 billion people on this planet or over that, whatever, I can't connect with one person, who can truly understand me inside and out. And that loneliness made me start developing what I call negative isolation. I've come to understand that there's a positive and negative isolation. So the negative isolation is when you on purpose try to make sure you get away from people. You view all people as the problems of your life. You have a disdain for humanity in its fullness. And not that you don't not like certain things about people, but it takes on a thing where you do want to become that island all to yourself. That's when you become like that grumpy person, that person who just feels with a certain form of bitterness. So then you're getting away from everybody because of that. And you always can kind of only see like the bad things. And you can't also see the positive stuff like that. So I was going more into that negative isolation. So I'm getting away from people for all the reasons that I just named. And because of that, I felt a deep depression and sadness because I just felt that alone. But at the same time, I didn't want to connect with anybody because my understanding was that if you don't understand me, then how can you really connect with me? How can we really have a bond that is of value? And then one day it hit me. I was watching Daredevil, because that's one of my favorite shows, with my daughter. We just kicking it. And I think it was like during a break. I think she was for like a school break or something like that. Because I remember she was with me for a whole bunch of days. And we just on the couch chilling, laying down, watching TV and eating and all that stuff. And just really getting into it. And then that's when I had the epiphany. That, for me anyway, the cure to that loneliness was the people that care about you. Because I know my daughter cares about me. I know my daughter loves me, but she doesn't understand everything I'm going through. She doesn't understand a lot of things about life, especially some of the things that's not so good. But then I had to really think about, but does that mean that her connection for what she does understand or her love or care for me, that's not enough? And I had to realize that two people can go through the same thing and still take it differently based off of all the factors of conditioning and understanding, maturity, all of that. But that doesn't mean that their experience or what they think about you as a person is invaluable. Or is not valued. So when I decided like, no, I need to just cling to the people that care about me. Enjoy my time with them, whatever that time may be. That when I feel those deep, dark moments that I just feel like I'm all alone, I'm ready to go isolate negatively again. That's when I need to be around them the most. So I made sure I stayed around her. I made sure I called up, some of my friends or certain relatives and things of that nature who couldn't possibly understand the things I was dealing with. Didn't matter. But their presence alone was enough to help me get through those things, which goes into me learning that the positive, well, rather, let me finish that. It's just that the cure to that depression and those form of loneliness that came with that was just people, the people that cares about me. It was really that simple. And on purpose, making sure I stayed around them and not getting caught up in the idea that they don't fully understand me as being the basis of them being able to be valued. So then we go into another thing I've learned, what I call institutionalized loneliness. And I think that sometimes we go into this mindset because institutionalized, if I'm just had to sum up and give you the abridged version, it just basically means being subjugated to a certain habit or thought process based off of a certain environment they're used to. So an environment that has a certain way of doing things, you just get accustomed to how that is. So your mind just conditions to conform to that. So that's what you get. You hear that term more so with people in prison. You know, how people become institutionalized with the prison culture. So when they come out into the world here, after being in prison for so long, they don't even know how to assimilate the new culture or new way of doing things, the new institutionalized method in how our society is ran outside of prison culture. And that's why they usually have problems and wind up getting sent back, because they're still caught in that habit of that mindset. They don't know how to unprogram themselves to that. So I started thinking about that, since us as humans are habitual creatures, that we even get institutionalized in anything that we're used to dealing with if we don't on purpose make sure that we do, make adjustments. So institutionalized loneliness can be just the fact that if you're so used to being by yourself all the time, even if you don't like it, and you're doing it for whatever reason, because you feel like you can't meet the right person or you don't have good people and you're like, whatever. But the fact of the matter is, people, we're not made to be alone. That's why when you spend a whole bunch of alone time by yourself, I'm just redundant. If you're alone all the time for extended periods, you generally become more of a negative person, because we're not made to be by ourselves, period. So the institutionalized part would be that if you're used to doing your own thing, not having to open up, not having to connect with people, not having to extend yourself, you'll operate in such a way where it's like you can't even let anybody in, because you're institutionalized in being by yourself and not having to give yourself out, that you don't even know how to do that anymore. And we got to be careful in that, because the problem is going to come in is that when you really want somebody, or you want more connections with people, you have to give something for it. You have to give yourself. And if you don't catch that, you won't give yourself to bring that connection that you really want. And you'll still end up in the situation of being lonely in a way that you don't even want to be in. We'll actually create the environment that we don't want to have. Done that too. And I think very deep. So in my mind, some of it also came from the space of just thinking like, the fear. Well, maybe I should stay with my loneliness. Well, because at least my loneliness, I could expect that at least I'll be by myself. It's not unpredictable. My loneliness will never leave me. If you think about why I just said that, my loneliness will never leave me. So at least I can count on my loneliness to be there for me. Kind of poetic and oxymoronic. But these usually are the thoughts that you don't even internalize, that's still going inside you. You don't consciously become aware of it. So then you'll act out of those things that's coming from a fearful place and hurt place. And you'll keep people from you knowing that you really want to be with them. Knowing that no one's perfect. We're still going to make mistakes. Even the people that care for you, we are too. And we have to have more love, compassion, and empathy to be able to extend ourselves, knowing that no one's perfect. Everybody's going to miss it sometimes. So then we go into learning how to be positive. The positive isolation. Positive isolation is when you realize, you deal with people, you helping people, people's helping you, but you get to a place where you just feel drained. You have low energy because you've just been pouring out and connecting with people. So you feel like, oh, let me go get away. so I can rejuvenate and rebuild. So you might take a vacation or just be by yourself at home or whatever you have to do to make yourself feel revitalized so you can come back and give. We want to operate in positive isolation, where I'm taking a step back. I'm not leaving anybody. I'm not an island all to myself. I just need a moment to re-energize so I can come back and continue to bring peace, harmony, and flow with other people. That is what we want, positive isolation. And on purpose connecting with people and realizing that we all going to miss it sometimes. But that doesn't mean that we should throw people away, because we won't want nobody doing that to us. That may have happened to a lot of us, but we don't want to continue the same evil that's happened to us. And we want to make sure that we're not doing things that makes it easy for somebody to throw us away, because we're actually part of the problem and not the solution. So that's my story. It's just me opening up a little bit. And I hope that this is, you might find this beneficial in some way. And if you like this kind of content, please like, share, and subscribe. And when you do subscribe, you'll see a little bell there. Go ahead and hit that, because then it will allow you to get alerts when I put up new videos. So this is Mari signing off. And as always, just something to think about. Grace and peace to you.